always said to us that back-to-back wins in the Premier League is very, very hard to achieve.
Mm.
You've managed that. You're up to 9th in the Premier League. It's all looking very healthy. And I remember talking to you a couple of months ago when everybody was doom and gloom and you were bottom of the table and you said it'll be okay. You were right.
Yeah, we've done okay. We didn't cover ourselves in glory in the FA Cup game, in fairness, and we went strong in that. The team I picked should have won that game on paper, but you don't win games on paper, you win them on football pitches. So we disappointed in that game, but our league form has been okay. Our league performances have been okay, even when we were getting beaten by 4 at Liverpool and conceding 4 at Chelsea. So our performances have been fine. In fact, I think probably like-for-like results, we're in a better position than we were last year. So I think that's what we should be judged on, rather than maybe the perception that, we had a bad start and we didn't win enough games and we got beat by too many goals. And I think at the end of the day, it's where we finish at the end of the season. We're on track. I think 27 points after 21 games is the second best return this club has had since I've been here. So we're on track. We're where we thought we'd likely be at this stage of the season, and we've got a platform and a base to push on for the final 17, 18 games, wherever it is.
We spoke to Glenn Whelan yesterday, and I told him that Stoke are top of the Fair Play League this season. Not in terms of bookings, but in terms of the number of fouls you've committed. I don't know if you've seen this. 211 fouls in 21 games. Glenn wasn't that pleased with that. He said he doesn't want us to be that nice.
It's not like my teams, is it? I've had teams in the past been way off the scale at the other end, but...
What do you make of it? I mean, seriously, when you see a stat like that, does that make you think, you know what, maybe we are too light? Maybe I need to talk to the players about it?
I don't know about that. I think we have changed clearly the style to a certain extent, but maybe it's more relevant to look at, okay, we don't do too many fouls these days, but I'm not sure what the yellow card count is and where we are in that table. I would suggest we're probably still quite high and top. Well, there you go, then there's my point. So even though we're not flying around taking people out of the game and numerous fouls in every game we play, we still pick up arguably the same amount of bookings. So maybe that's somebody else's fault, it's not ours.
Transfer window time. Can I ask you about Saido Berahino? I know you've spoken about him. We're told that the negotiations are going pretty well. Are you confident now? Are you more confident than you were?
It sways from one end of the scale to another, to be perfectly honest. I think I said last week or the week before that I was more confident that something might be done. It's fair to say we've probably swung the other way again. So last few days hasn't really progressed. I think there was reports that he was progressing well. I might question that because I don't think that's the case. There's been any progress for quite some time. And if I'm honest, it doesn't look like there's going to be too much progress in the following days. I might be wrong. Things might change very, very quickly, but people seem to be very entrenched in their views and their positions. So when that happens, it's difficult to move it forward.
Is that down to price?
Among other things, yeah.
Thanks for putting straight on that. It was my report that said they were
That was it.
Thanks for that. What about Boyan? Where are we with him? Do you think you're going to lose him? Do you think that he's so... you don't have to, of course, he's your player. But has he said to you he wants to leave?
No, we saw something in the press saying that if there was an opportunity, he would like to leave. He hasn't said that to me. I think at the end of the day, he's our player. You're absolutely right in that regard. He's involved in the squad tomorrow, so he's part of what we're doing. I don't know if there's... I think there's probably has been inquiries, but nobody's come back with any bids. We want to encourage them, to be perfectly honest, but if they do come in with bids, then maybe then Boyan or his advisors will maybe want to discuss that, but we're not at that point at the moment. So he's involved tomorrow. He's in the squad, and he's getting ready and preparing for that game. So that's where we are.
Mark Rooney, again, lots of reports and interest apparently from Spain, Real Betis.
I think it's a little bit different with Mark. I think he's a little bit frustrated. He's been here a long time, almost 4 years. This is his fourth season. As one of the first players I brought here, and he's done exceptionally well. Been hampered a little bit by injuries, and that's held him back when he's had good runs in the side. Unfortunately, he's more often not gone out with injuries, and that's been a shame for him. So he's a little bit frustrated that he hasn't had as much game time. But I've had the conversation with him. I said it's basically it's up to me to try and keep him happy in terms of giving him game time, giving him enough game time to settle down and still feel he's contributing. So obviously we've got games to come, and we'll see how that pans out. But I can understand his frustration to a certain extent.
Peter Crouch.
Yes.
One goal away from this landmark of 100.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been looking at some of the stats that of what he's achieved in the Premier League, and more headed goals than anybody else. The impact he's made is quite extraordinary, isn't it, in the time he's been involved? Yeah,
no, he's been a credit to himself and his family and his profession. I've said that many times, and I think his level of performance at the moment belies his age, but not his ability to perform. I think what's happened is that people just looked at his age and thought, well, should we be recontracting a player at that stage of his career? But from our point of view, it's quite clear that he's still very, very adept at this level, and was always going to make an impression for whoever he was playing for at this age and at this stage of his career. And I just felt it would be crazy to allow him to leave, given that he could still impact games at Premier League level, which he's in recent weeks certainly. After having starts, that's what he's done, and that's credit to him. He's been a little bit frustrated the last 18 months or so that he hasn't as many games, but he's got a run in the team now, and he's there on merit. And age isn't a barrier to Peter, to be perfectly honest. He just comes in, does his work correctly, and allows himself the chance to show everybody what he can do, and he's been doing that for many years, and his strengths and his abilities aren't diminishing in my view.
Manchester United, your old club, when you come up against them, because you're still someone else, I think you've said to me before, it's the only stadium what you go to as an away manager and you don't get booed when you get cheered.
That's about right.
Because of that, does it feel extra special? Do you feel extra motivated? Does your passion rise more when it's against Man United?
I don't think I changed my motivation. My motivation is to win every game for Stoke City, and that never changes, irrespective of the opposition. I think when you go up against a team like Manchester United, more often than not, and in the time I've been a manager, more often than not, they were the top dogs. They were at the top of the pile, and they're the ones you had to test yourself against and see where you were in comparison to them. And that was a challenge, and that was the one I always embraced, and that's the part of it that I really enjoy. I think it's always this Premier League tests you week in, week out, but obviously when you go up against stronger teams, which United undoubtedly are this year certainly, then that's a huge test for everybody, and I always enjoyed that. I used to enjoy big games as a player, and as a manager, going up against one of the top six, and Manchester United in particularly, for me, that's always a huge game, and one I always want to do well for Stoke City.
They're 12 games unbeaten, but you've got a great record against them here in particular. Last 3 times they've come, you've won 2 and drawn 1, and this is Jose Mourinho's worst stadium in the country to come to in terms of his record. So when you go into a game like this, what do you expect from it? What do you think? How is it going to
It is a difficult game. I mean, we're playing them when clearly they're on a good run of form, and the team itself is shaping up to be what you envisage a Jose Mourinho team should look like, and you can see signs that that's forming as we speak. So it'll be a big test. I think from our point of view, it's maybe a game that we can enjoy. There's an expectation that United will come here and make it difficult and maybe win. We'll clearly have something to say about that and have done in recent seasons, but I think it's one that we can enjoy. I think the crowd and our fans can enjoy it to a certain extent a little bit more than games that maybe we're expected to win here. There's a little bit of tension and anxiety because there's a demand that we win against teams in and around us, which for the most part we've done okay in this year. But when a big club comes into town, then you can maybe express yourself a little bit more readily and really have a go. So that's what I'll be emphasising to my players.
And team news, anybody struggling that we don't know about?
No, we've got everybody fit, plus Bojan, who's added to the squad from last week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark, we talked a little bit last week about Rooney and his record, but you said that obviously, being at a club for a long time, you can achieve goals like that. Do you think players going to clubs and achieving records like that because of the longevity of their career at one club is gonna die out because players don't stay at clubs for very long?
Well, it's very rare in this day and age. In fairness, it's a high bar being at a top club for so long, and you'll have many challenges, and a lot of players will come and go and test you and your ability to keep your place in a high level squad, and that's why I've got great respect for Wayne Rooney, that he's been able to be at the top of his game for so long at a huge club right across the world, and he's pushed everybody away and not allowed anybody really to take his mantle. A little bit more difficult for him this year maybe. Hasn't started each and every game, but still an outstanding player, and I think credit to him, he's stuck at it, and that longevity has allowed him to get in the position where he's got an opportunity to beat the record. We hope it's not against us, clearly. We'd much rather Crouchy beat his record and get his goal and get his record, 100 goals in the Premier League, which is really important to him. So hopefully that'll be the case, and maybe Wayne will have to wait 1 week longer.
Just a word on Zlatan. He scored 14 goals now, and he seems to be in great form coming to the Premier League. He's also a striker later in his career. We've talked about Peter, we've talked about Wayne. Do you think there's something about the kind of calibre of a player that can keep scoring goals long into their career?
Yeah, I think when you there's a certain point in your career in your 30s where you understand clearly the game a lot better than you did when you first setting out, and you understand what you need to do in terms of being able to be ready to compete at the highest level. So your preparation is different from what you'd get away with, to be perfectly honest, as a younger player. So all that knowledge and that experience comes to the fore. And that's why I think you can still have a huge impact and affect games in the right manner. It's just because you have more knowledge, more understanding of what's required. You understand the league that you're in more clearly. And I think it's not easy to get to that point in your career, certainly not at the top level. And the guys that you've mentioned clearly have a real understanding of what's required to help them remain right at the top of their game. And a lot of players think they can still do the same things they were doing when they were 20, 22, when they're in the 30s, but it's not the case. Very quickly you'll get found out, and you'll go out the game at that level.
There's a lot of threats this weekend. Zlatan, Pogba, Mata. I mean, the list is endless from that Man United squad. How are you going to deal with the kind of threats?
No, they've got a good squad. They're a top level team, and our match analysis guys put a list of the potential players that they got to have, and there's about 3 top level players in every position that they could pick. So that tells you how strong and the depth of squad that they've got. So we're under no illusions. They're a good side, but we've gone up against good sides and good squads before and taken maximum points. So that's our intention again.
You've been at Manchester United. You understand the pressure. Mourinho's gone in there and maybe was a little bit shaky at first, but has seemed to be on this fantastic run now. How difficult is it as a player at Manchester United to deal with that pressure and have a manager, top level manager like him, kind of on your back?
No, that's part of being a player within a group at a top level club. It's a lot of players find it difficult. A lot of players, there's plenty of examples of players, very good players going to Manchester United and not being able to deal with what the demands of being a Man United player is all about, and some fall by the wayside. But I think as a player, once you're there, then there's demand on you to hit your levels week in, week out, and there's a different pressure that surrounds each game that Manchester United plays. And I've been, or in the past, I was involved in Man United sides that weren't as good maybe as the potential of the Man United side as we speak. And almost every week there was a picture in the paper with a cracked Man United badge and saying there was a crisis and where are Man United going. So all that pressure is always there. It's just in different degrees, and you have to be able to deal with that as a player. And clearly, as a manager as well, and Jose's been at similar clubs with similar pressures, so it won't faze him whatsoever. And any trials or tribulations at the beginning of the season seem to have been long past, and they are shaping up to be a very effective team at the moment.
Just long-term injuries, how's Jack getting on?
Jack, I think he's got probably another week on crutches, and then he gets back training. Not training, rather. He starts his rehab in a week once he's off the crutches. John Walters is recovering well, but he won't be weight bearing for a week or so we'll be careful with that. The other long-term injuries, Jeff is back today, should be in training today with the physios. Came back last night, had a couple more procedures. He's more positive, I'm sure now, so hopefully we can start to think of getting him back. Apart from that, all the other long-term injuries are progressing. All done? Okay. See you later. No problem. Take care.